fists together. I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody.
Red and yellow, brown, black, and white. We're all precious in God's sight. Everybody is somebody. Stop the violence. Save the children. Stop bullying. Save the children.
Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. You can make it. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sonia Whitaker, National Education Policy Director for Push for Excellence. And we want to thank you so much for joining us today on our Saturday morning forum. We want to pause for just a moment to thank Word Network for bringing you to us and us to you. And yet we also recognize that many of you are watching us live right now on Facebook. If you're doing so, we want you to like our page and share it with others. And yet others are watching us right now on YouTube Live. And if you're doing that, we'd like to invite you to subscribe to our page so that you can gain immediate access to all of the content we have for you. And speaking of content, we need your support. We're asking that you seriously consider giving of your financial resources, and we've made it pretty easy for you to do so. You can simply pick up that cell phone in front of you right now and hold it to the QR code on your screen. And if you prefer, you can take that same phone and simply text the word PUSH to 41444. Text PUSH to 41444. And believe it or not, we're giving you a third option to consider giving of your financial resources to. And you can go to our rainbowpush.org website and simply click on the word donate. And as has been shared, we got a lot of content in store for you today. And so whatever you do, don't touch that dial because the push is on.
It was a rally in Bayside to demand AAPI history be taught in public schools across New York State. Headlining the rally, civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson, a call to build a coalition between the Asian American and Black communities.
I am
somebody.
I'm Asian. I'm Korean. Beautiful.
I'm proud. The bill must be signed. We must fight ignorance, hatred, fear, and violence. One leads to the other.
Legislation that would mandate Asian American history as part of school curriculum was introduced by State Senator John Liu.
There are opponents who think that there should not be this kind of legislated requirement. There are even people who liken this to critical race theory.
The declining social conditions that is the root of the violence and hatred that pits communities of color like Asians and Blacks against each other. The system in front of us, they want us to fight. They want us to hate each other. They want us to be pitted against each other. And it is up to us, the next generation, to fight through that.
We sat down one-on-one with Governor Kathy Hochul in May and asked her to weigh in.
Would you support a bill that would mandate teaching Asian American history in New York public schools?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And earlier this year, we sat down with Mayor Eric Adams.
I spoke with John Liu. I think he's right.
Mayor Adams announced in May that New York City public schools will teach AAPI history in public schools this fall. Senator Liu is optimistic that his state bill will pass into law next year.
Hi, my name is Simbrit Whittington Dortch.
And I am Jay Sean Smith.
And we are with Third Dimension Productions, a company by Ted Williams III, the 1619 Journey of a People project. Our job here is to bring entertainment through the arts. Not just entertainment, but more importantly, education. So for instance, one of the unit studies we did today was on Frederick Douglass. The week before that, we looked at Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois, and basically what their contributions were to the journey of the African American here in this country. And so what we like to do is provide education through entertainment, music, acting, dance. All of these things have been proven and scientifically based to help children learn and to retain information. So what better to learn about our history as a people than through the things that we all love? Music is a universal language. So we've been fortunate enough to be here with Operation Push through Third Dimension to bring that to these babies so that they can carry on the stories that we all have grown up hearing, but maybe not necessarily remembering. So we're giving them an opportunity to learn more about who they are from where our people have been. And it's been an honor to be here with the staff. Everyone here is so awesome. And hopefully we'll be able to come back again. I believe Ted has been with Operation Push for the last 4 years, and Jay Sean and I came in. This is our first year being here, and it's been a blast.
I would like to shout out Reverend Jesse Jackson for allowing us to be here and contribute to the community and teach these kids our history, basically. So.
Indeed, the staff, again, absolutely wonderful here. The push is on.
Push is on.
We're back for a few special announcements. We'd like to pause for just a moment and offer our prayers to attorney Barbara Arnwine, who experienced the loss of her mother, and we want you to know that we're thinking about you. We also want to pause for a moment and offer our condolences to the family of Roger Mosley, who is the co-star of Magnum P.I., and extend our warmest thoughts and prayers for you. We'd like for you to hold on for just a minute. The push is on. We have more information to come. Keep hope alive.
I know many of you are wondering what's happening in November. Why should you be concerned? Well, it's the midterm election. What does that mean? Well, it's not a presidential election. So you're saying, why do I need to get all excited? Because these midterm elections will impact you directly. In the midterm elections, who are we electing? We're electing the United States House of Representatives. They run every 2 years. And so you will be electing your United States congressperson. There are several throughout the country. In every state, you will elect a new congressperson. I live in the 1st Congressional District. The boundaries for my district have been redrawn. And even though I'm living on the south side, it used to be a predominantly African American congressional district, the boundaries have changed because of what we call redistricting. So you need to make sure you live in the same district that you thought you lived in. And how do you do that? You have to check your voter card, check with your Board of Elections, make sure that your congressional district, your state legislative district, your aldermanic wards, your county districts are the same, and if they're not the same, what are the boundaries? What are the geographic boundaries of those districts? Secondly, you're not only voting for Congress, you're voting for some U.S. senators, you also are voting at the state level. The state legislatures are up for re-election. Your state representatives and your state senators. Why are they important? Because they pass laws that impact criminal justice, they pass laws that deal with police reform, they pass laws that determine whether or not renters in your state, what kind of benefits they will receive. They pass laws regarding health care. They pass laws that impact every aspect of our lives, the state legislatures. And so they're the ones that approve budgets to fund school systems. They're the ones that raise or maintain tuition in universities that are funded in part by the state legislature. The state election is very important. When the United States Supreme Court overturned Roe, now every state gets to decide what kind of choice legislation they will have for women. They will change if the state legislature changes from blue to red or from one party to the next party. You need to know, what do these people who are running for state senate, state representative, what do they have? What do they believe about a woman's right to choose? What do they believe about funding public education? Are they more in favor of funding private schools, charter schools? What do they plan to support when they go to your state capital and sit in those hallowed seats? Who are they going to vote in favor of? What things are they going to support? What lobbies are they going to yield to when you talk about gun reform and gun legislation? That's what you need to know, and that's why you need to vote. Well, I don't want you to stop at the state. Everybody says all politics is local. How about it is? In the midterms, you're dealing with the federal election, the congressional seats and some senators. You also are dealing with state legislative seats, but you're also dealing with county. People are running for sheriff of your county. Well, in many places, suburbs and small towns, the person that makes decisions, policing decisions, the sheriff of that county. We have a sheriff of Cook County. Every county has a different sheriff, and that is a very powerful seat. In some places, the county prosecutors are running for re-election. In some places, people are gearing up to run for governor. And like in Illinois, our governor and lieutenant governor are running for office. Well, you do know that, like in Illinois, just where I live, the governor has 40 board appointments that the governor can make, the parole board, the Commerce Commission. These are paid people to sit and make decisions about all kinds of things. You have Secretary of States running. You know the Secretary of State is a very important position because they have something to do with elections, the polling places all across the country, particularly in small towns and rural areas. Secretary of State certifies the election. Well, you want to know who your Secretary of State is. You want to know what they're going to decide to do. So now I'm telling you all this stuff, and you say, well, what does that mean? It means that we have to have a higher turnout. You can't just let this election go by. You got people running for judge as well in this midterm election. I don't know why they call it midterm, but it's because it's not the federal presidential election. What can we do? Every pastor, we need to do voter education. We need to take time every Sunday, set aside 5 to 10 minutes to just talk about the importance of voting. Don't have to tell the people who to vote for, but tell them why they need to vote. Seniors, you're voting to maintain Medicare at its present level and not to decrease. People that you're unemployed, you're challenged, you have food stamps, you're voting because you want to maintain what you have and get more. As food prices go up, are you getting more food benefits? That's why you want to vote. So pastors, we need you to do voter education from now to October. You want to focus on why people must vote. Not because somebody died, but because you want to live. You want to live better. If you look at the different food prices going up, gas prices going up, these policies are being made at the state, the federal, and local levels. You and I must really turn out. So pastors, first thing you need to do is start a major voter education campaign. Principals, every one of you must make sure that all of your high school seniors who will be 18 by November 7th, they need to be registered and talk to them about voting. Schools must begin to return to civic education. It's not just about marching people to the polls, but before you march them to the polls, you got to get them to understand why they need to go. And those high school students, college students, you need to vote on the campuses where you are. You can change the election. If you go to school in any of the 11 southern states, if you are on your way back in August, make sure you register and vote in that state, in that city where your campus is located. You can be the change for the state legislature in the state. If you're in South Carolina, it's enough college students in South Carolina. Y'all can change South Carolina to be a better place for your generation. You're voting for your generation. You're voting so that you can have the benefits that you should have, not the ones that we used to have, the ones that you should have. You should be voting so that you can get some people to fight to eliminate student loan debt. You want to make sure that every two-year college is free wherever you are. You can do that because on your campuses, there must be a student revolution of voting. And you can do it. College presidents, college deans, you should make sure that your campus is 100% registered and ready to vote. All of them are eligible. Have them register in your town where your college is located. Don't go back to school just telling them, look to your right, look to your left. Some people won't be there. You need to tell them, look to your right, look to your left. All of you need to be registered voters today. That should be part of the summer back to school orientation, registering and voting, and have campus register and get out to vote events leading up to November. And on the college campus, use your buses that you use for the teams. Bus them to the polls that they might register, vote, vote, vote. So there's something colleges can do, there's something parents can do. Parents, you need to make sure your children who are eligible, 18 by November, that they're voting. Make sure you get up and vote. Business owners, you have to have, are you registered to vote kind of events at your place, in your business. Check people, like you check a mask, check their voter registration when they come to your place of business. Make sure that you're registered to vote and have information how they can get registered. Everybody can do something. And everybody must. We have to have the highest turnout ever in a midterm election this year because we're voting on things that will impact us for generations to come. When you look at this Supreme Court, it didn't just get this way today. This has been a steady movement by certain presidents with a right-wing ideology who have decided to change the federal district courts because you do know they are nominated by the president, approved by the senators. Why do we focus on senators? Because they have so much power. They approve the president's nominations to everything. President has a cabinet. President nominates XYZ to serve as Secretary of Education, to serve all of those positions, Secretary of Housing, Secretary of Transportation. They are recommended, nominated by the president, approved by a Senate. You need to know where your senators stand on several things. The Attorney General, if you remember under President Obama, it was difficult to get, he couldn't get his appointments to the Supreme Court, and he had trouble getting his cabinet positions filled. There are several thousand positions in the Plum Book that presidents have an opportunity to fill. They are approved by the United States Senate. And so that's why voting is so important. Everything we do is about the vote. And so I'm just so excited. I want you, parents, make sure that your house is fully registered and voting. Principals and teachers, make sure that your students who are eligible, 18 by November 7, are ready, registered and voting. Make sure that students that are in college, they vote on the campus. Don't have them come home. Weather is not going to be in our favor. We got global warming. We have all kinds of issues. Let them vote where they're in school, wherever that is, and talk to them about the importance. Deans and presidents of colleges, make sure that your campus is 100% registered and turning out of all eligible voters, wherever your campus is located. Everybody has a role. Pastors, you make sure your church is 100%, but also the church community, where your church building sits. Make sure that the people that live in that neighborhood are registered and are ready to vote. If they need assistance, you ought to be able to provide it from your congregation. We got to act like this is a campaign. This is a campaign for the fight for our lives. We're in the fight for our lives. You need to move on voting. It's the most important thing we can do in 2022.
Good morning. Welcome to this week's Saturday Morning Forum. In the midst of all that's going on in the world, the turmoil that confronts us domestically, the violence that has paralyzed communities large and small across the country, it is critical that we not allow ourselves to descend into a state of despair. This is a moment that warrants our greatest effort to do as Reverend Jackson continues to admonish us, keep hope alive. The issues that we must prepare to address range from criminal justice reform to voting rights protections to economic opportunity and even racial equity. In this week's Due Process, I will share with you stories that connect with these principles, so stay tuned to Due Process. The legal system does not always accommodate our expectations or our timelines. However, in the face of what appears to be unavoidable disappointment, we must all tap into the fire that burns deep within us to prove to ourselves and the world that the meaning of I am somebody still has value. Today, we share with you the press conference with Reverend Jackson that occurred after an initial but important meeting with the CEO of SeaWorld Entertainment, the parent company of Sesame Place outside Philadelphia, and representatives of SeaWorld's board and advisors as Reverend Jackson expressed his concern and commitment to facilitating a credible remedy to the effects of the troublesome and harmful experience of the Brown family and the two little girls whom we have all seen and come to love. As always, thank you for your partnership and support. Thank you for joining us for the Saturday Morning Forum.
And a Baltimore family suing the Sesame Place theme park in Pennsylvania says this video shows costumed characters discriminating against black children. Claims that have sparked a multi-million-dollar lawsuit and generated a mountain of negative publicity for the park. WJZ investigator Mike Helgren is live at federal court.
He has new reaction from Reverend Jesse Jackson, who just met with Sesame Place management. Mike.
And Vic, Denise, Reverend Jackson just finished speaking. He says these children will bear an awful burden for what happened to them, and he's determined to make sure no other child suffers discrimination. The operators of Sesame Place are trying to make amends, taking new action to retrain employees after the parents who took these videos say their children experienced racial discrimination at the theme park located outside Philadelphia. Reverend Jesse Jackson personally met Thursday with the CEO of SeaWorld, which runs Sesame Place.
We will not cooperate unless they do the right thing, the right way, and quickly.
In one video, a character greets a white child but ignores Kennedy Burns, a black 5-year-old from Baltimore. Her hand outstretched, she looks back at her dad in disappointment. Moments later, another character high-fives white children but has no interaction with Kennedy. Burns' family has filed this $25 million class action lawsuit in federal court.
Just looking at her face, it makes me want to cry every time I see it.
In a separate case, not part of that lawsuit, a character interacts with a white family but waves off two black children, Jody Brown's young daughter and niece.
For little children, they should not have to experience such hurt and embarrassment from a character who's supposed to bring joy.
Sesame Place first said the characters could not see the children through their costumes, then apologized, and this week announced new anti-bias training for all staff that will be completed by the end of September. The actions we are taking will help us deliver on our promise to provide an equitable and inclusive experience for all our guests every day, the company wrote.
We all look forward to work united to deal with this very central issue of racism, which has promulgated and perpetuated around our country for generations.
The Brown family did not come seeking litigation. They came seeking affirmation and a recognition that the innocence of their children should not be dismissed in the process of business as usual.
Push Excel's goal is to inspire students to strive for excellence in education in spite of personal, family, and community challenges that they might experience. How do we do this? by advocating for educational policies that guarantee equal funding for all students without regard to race or economic standing, by engaging parents, students, and teachers in pursuing high-quality education and striving for educational excellence at every level, and by forging partnerships with community-based and public sector stakeholders in education. Now, Push Excel is a national model program with the purpose of connecting principals, parents, popular personalities, and students in a bond and to support students at every level on the educational ladder. Now, we want you to become a member of the Rainbow Push Coalition and Push Excel. Your annual membership can help us to change policies that impact students, colleges, and universities all around the country. So step up and sign up today. Membership is only $35, and if you're a student or a senior, $15. Just go to our website, rainbowpush.org, and push join to become a member or push donate to support the Push Excel program. You can also text the word Push Excel, that's PUSHEXCEL, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give us any amount that you feel comfortable giving or call us at 773-256-2775. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you. And remember to keep hope alive.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sonia Whitaker, National Education Policy Director for Push for Excellence, which is actually the education arm of the Rainbow Push Coalition. And I wanted to pause for just a moment and give you just a quick highlight on Spotlight in Education. As many of you are aware, across our entire nation, we are experiencing national teacher shortages. Now, this has taken place for several years consecutively, but most of you would also agree the teacher shortages have grown larger and larger during the inception of COVID-19. And so for the purpose of this moment, we just want to encourage educators to, one, continue to acknowledge this exists, but also to recognize that even during this crisis relevant to the national teacher shortage, we have got to continue to be about the business of ensuring that all students gain access to a quality education. And the most effective way to do that is to ensure that the teacher that is put in front of the student has the credentials, is experienced, and has a fundamental appreciation for the work that has to be done. Now, what we like to do here at Push Excel is not just identify, or what some might refer to as admire the problem. We want to state that we recognize it, but to offer then some suggestions or information about how school districts across our nation are actually working proactively to solve the problem. Right here in our own state, just a few months ago, in the state of Illinois, our governor signed a bill to allow for some flexibility to ensure that we were able to fill the holes in our schools related to the teacher shortage. And a few examples of what has been done here that you may consider nationwide is actually relevant to the fact that for substitutes, in the past, substitutes in the state of Illinois could only work 5 consecutive days. As a direct result of the bill that was passed and signed by our governor, substitutes can now work as many as 15 consecutive days in a row. That's a huge plus for us. Another step in the right direction, particularly as it relates to the state of Illinois, is that bachelor's degrees are no longer required. Now, again, we want to make sure that we put the most highly qualified and competent adults in front of students. But while we are working proactively in this state in particular to address the shortage, the governor signed a bill and passed into law the option for those of you that are genuinely interested in teaching, as long as you have 90 hours of college credit, then your candidacy for a teaching position is qualifiable and can very much be taken into consideration. I think it's also important to state, and then I'll share some of what is occurring in Pennsylvania. It's also important to state that relevant to a proactive response to the national crisis related to teacher shortage, that in our state, the governor has also signed a law that would make it possible for those of us that are practicing school and district leaders to provide an opportunity for those that are interested in obtaining their licenses to do so at a reduced fee. Now, moving away from the state of Illinois, I'd like to draw your attention to what is happening in Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, on July of 2022, the Pennsylvania Department of Education made a 3-year comprehensive shortage strategic plan entitled The Foundation of Our Economy, recognizing how high-quality education positively impacts the economy in Pennsylvania. And I want you to know, and actually to share with you verbatim, that the plan calls for expanding access to high-quality teacher preparation and professional development opportunities, as well as streamlining their certification process and increasing diversity and representation in the teacher workforce. So there, in just a few moments, not only has Push Excel identified what we recognize is a national crisis, but we've also offered to you 3 to 5 different examples of the types of strategies that you might consider implementing at your state and or district level to proactively problem solve in this area. Thank you so much for your gift of time, and we're looking forward to bringing to you another Spotlight in Education. Keep hope alive.
I'm especially grateful to Reverend Jesse Jackson for all that he has done and continues to do to fight for justice and equality across our country. A former advisor to Dr. Martin Luther King, Reverend Jackson is a lion of the civil rights movement, and it's on his shoulders that so many of us stand. I am honored to virtually be a part of today's convention, where the discussion is focused on critical issues including voting rights, criminal justice, and fair housing. All of these issues are core priorities for the Civil Rights Department of the Justice Department, which I lead, and I am excited to share more about the current work that we're doing. I want to first talk about our work to safeguard and protect voting rights. In 2006, while signing the reauthorization of the Voting Rights Act into law, President Bush noted that the act broke the segregationist lock on the ballot box that rose from the courage shown on a Selma bridge. And he observed that while we've made progress towards equality in the first 4 decades since the act was passed, the work for a more perfect union is never ending. The Justice Department is committed to making sure that every eligible American across our country can cast a vote, that all lawful votes are counted, and that every voter has access to accurate election information. And we've taken action across the country, including filing lawsuits, challenging restrictive voting laws, and standing up to discriminatory redistricting plans. We've also filed statements of interest in cases where we've seen litigants challenge core features of the Voting Rights Act, including the simple question of whether or not there's a private right of action to bring suit under the law. Over the past year, we've also issued several significant guidance documents that provide our interpretation of certain voting rights laws, including guidance that affect issues such as early voting and voting by mail. We've also issued guidance that lays out the protections against racial vote dilution under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act that applies right now during the current redistricting cycle that is underway. We're also committed to using all of the tools available to us to support voting rights for returning citizens, those who've been formally incarcerated in our jails and prisons. As President Biden declared when he issued Executive Order 14019, it is the policy of this administration to promote and defend the right to vote. for all Americans who are legally entitled to participate in elections. And he recognized that it is the responsibility of the federal government to expand access to and education about voter registration and election information. Laws that disenfranchise citizens who have been convicted of crimes affect millions of people. The number of people these laws affect varies widely by state, but in the 2020 election, an estimated 5.2 million Americans were barred from voting. And this was so even though three-quarters of them had completed their sentences and were living in their communities. The racial disparities that continue to haunt our nation and our criminal justice system are present here too. These laws disproportionately affect Black people and communities of color. Fortunately, this is an area where change has been moving in the right direction. In the last half dozen years, roughly one-third of states have enacted reforms that make it easier for citizens with convictions to retain or regain the right to vote. We know that just as disenfranchisement destabilizes communities and people, rights restoration provides a powerful balm. It affirms returning citizens' membership and belonging in the broader community. And it helps to ensure that the communities to which they belong have a meaningful opportunity to elect candidates of their choice. We've created a resource that provides state by state information. It's available on the DOJ.gov website. And we hope that Rainbow Push and civic groups and religious congregations and others will help to move this work forward. We're committed to using every tool at our disposal to ensure that every American can register, cast a ballot, and have that ballot counted, free from racial discrimination. But I have to admit, we're fighting without our most effective tool. The Supreme Court's 2013 decision in Shelby County, Alabama versus Holder eliminated the preclearance provision of the Voting Rights Act, the single most powerful and effective tool that we had to protect the right to vote. That's why it's imperative that Congress pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Restoration Act to finally ensure that every eligible American can participate in our democracy. Beyond the work that we're doing to defend access to the ballot box, we're also working to stand up to the rise in hate crimes that we are seeing today across the country, and that includes racially motivated hate violence targeting Black people. FBI data shows that during the pandemic, there was a rise in hate crimes committed against Black Americans, already the group most frequently targeted. And anti-Asian violence also rose by over 70%. We've seen attacks on our houses of worship. And since January of 2021, the Justice Department has charged more than 40 defendants in over 30 cases. Over that same period, we've obtained more than 35 convictions of defendants charged with bias-motivated crimes. Attacks on people because of their race, national origin, religion, gender, or sexual orientation are unacceptable. Enforcing our hate crimes laws, such as the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Hate Crimes Prevention Act, is important because it sends a powerful message to those who are affected and to the broader community that they are valued, that their communities are important, and that the federal government will not stand by idly when they are targeted. But we know that work to confront hate in this era requires that we use every tool available to us. And that's why we're also hard at work maximizing the use of our non-criminal resources to address acts of bias where appropriate. So, for example, in October of last year, the Civil Rights Division and the U.S. Attorney's Office for Utah announced a settlement agreement with the Davis School District in Utah to address race discrimination and racial harassment in the district's public schools. This included serious and widespread racial harassment of Black and Asian American students who represented about 1% of the student population, respectively. Our investigation revealed persistent failures to respond to reports of race-based harassment of those students. Between 2015 and 2020, the Justice Department found hundreds of documented uses of the N-word and other racial slurs, physical assaults targeting students of color, and our investigation showed that the school district disciplined Black students more harshly than their white peers for similar behavior. Most importantly, the school failed to respond to these reports and incidents when they occurred. Our agreement here requires the school district to enact significant institutional reforms to address discrimination and to ensure that all of these students have a safe environment going forward. We're putting federal laws like the Fair Housing Act and the Equal Credit Opportunity Act to work to help address this history of housing segregation and discriminatory lending practices. Moreover, the Justice Department recently launched a new initiative to investigate lenders and banks across the country to help analyze whether they are engaged in unlawful redlining. The Combating Redlining Initiative represents the department's most aggressive and coordinated effort yet to address this problem. To date, the department has resolved redlining allegations against Trustmark National Bank in Memphis and Cadence Bank in Houston. Collectively, these two banks will invest over $10 million to increase credit opportunities to residents of those neighborhoods. While there is more work to do, we are committed to the task. Let me be clear, none of this work is easy, and none of the civil rights and protections that we have should be taken for granted, which is why we take our work seriously at the Justice Department. I want to observe that this year marks 65 years since the Civil Rights Division was created as a part of the Civil Rights Act of 1957, a bill that was so sweeping that New York's Adam Clayton Powell Jr. called it, quote, the second emancipation. We know that justice is built one brick at a time, and it can be dismantled the same way. When it comes to ensuring equal justice in America, we are on the case every single day. Thank you again for having me here today.
We're excited to get more people involved in Rainbow Push, supporting the programs of Push for Excellence and the Citizenship Education Fund. If you're interested in impacting public policies, if you believe in the scholarships that we give to thousands of students each and every year, you can become a policymaker by becoming a member of Rainbow Push right now. For an annual membership of $35, or if you're a student or senior, $15, you can help us make a difference in the lives of millions. How do you become a member? Visit our website at rainbowpush.org and press join. Or maybe you'd like to support us. You can text the word PUSH, that's PUSH, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give any amount you feel comfortable giving. You can also call us at 773-256-2775, or go to rainbowpush.org and push donate. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you.
Good morning. Welcome to Due Process. I'm Todd Yeary. We begin this week with the news out of Mississippi that a grand jury has refused to indict Carolyn Bryant Dunham, the white woman who accused Emmett Till of unwanted sexual advances that eventually led to the tragic and illegal taking of young Emmett's life. The grand jury in LaFleur County in the Mississippi Delta listened to more than 7 hours of testimony from investigators and witnesses who had personal knowledge about the case. However, the grand jury did not find sufficient evidence to indict Carolyn Dunham on charges of kidnapping or manslaughter. This after 2 decades of diminishing returns that indicated that fewer legal avenues to achieve justice for Emmett Till were available. There has been much concern about the culpability and responsibility of Carolyn Dunham in the murder of Emmett Till. Dunham's former husband, Roy Bryant, and his half-brother, J.W. Milam, confessed to the murder after they had been acquitted by an all-white jury. The fervor about indicting Carolyn Dunham intensified after the discovery of an arrest warrant for Dunham that had never been served because the district attorney in 1955 felt that it would be an imposition on Ms. Dunham to have her arrested as a young mother and to separate her from her family. Some legal scholars are concerned that the failure to bring an indictment could be one of the last remaining legal options available to achieve justice for Emmett Till and his late mother, Mamie. Members of the Till family have viewed the grand jury announcement as predictable. However, they and we are committed to continuing to fight for justice for Emmett Till as long as it will take to achieve that goal. The EPA continues to build its civil rights enforcement capabilities as part of a commitment to develop a more proactive response to environmental concerns. Lillian Dorka, director of the EPA Civil Rights Compliance Office, has indicated that there are significantly more complaints than ever before within the EPA. The need for a proactive response is heightened when placed in the context of recent Supreme Court decisions that have established that the Environmental Protection Agency does not have congressional authority to regulate particular market sectors under the Clean Air Act. Meanwhile, a mistrial has been declared in the case about the Flint water crisis in Michigan. This after jurors indicated that their mental and physical health in deliberating about the case had reached a breaking point. After almost 6 days of deliberation in the aftermath of a 6-month trial, the jurors were considering claims against 2 water company contractors. The suit alleged that the shift in sources of drinking water led to the lead poisoning of families through water supplies in houses and schools. The suit alleged that Veolia North America LLC and Lockwood, Andrews, and Newman failed to meet the standard of care required of water companies and water engineers. The grueling process of trying this case had taken a toll on the members of the jury, who indicated to U.S. Magistrate Judge David Grand that they were unable to reach a unanimous decision. After the customary issuance of what is known as an Allen charge, the jurors returned to deliberations to no avail. The trial was a technically complicated one, marked by testimony from chemists, engineers, physicians, and even residents. Some of the arguments in the trial were a bit curious, including some assertions that the water companies could not adjust the mix of chemicals used to treat the water without approval of the State Department of Environmental Quality. This case focused on the claims of 4 children whose lives were affected by this devastating water crisis and the effects of water poisoning. And while this case has ended in a mistrial, Rainbow Push Coalition, along with our human rights partners, will continue to demand that the companies responsible for facilitating these harms on and in communities of color in Flint, Michigan, be held accountable. In a story that many will not find familiar, 2 black broadcast companies have argued against a plan for geo-targeting. In a letter sent to the FCC, the companies argued that allowing stations to deploy location-specific ads will have adverse consequences for African American-owned and other minority-owned radio stations. Davis Broadcasting and Perry Publishing and Broadcasting, both Oklahoma-based entities, told the FCC in a letter that the proposal by Geo Broadcast Solutions will further harm the broadcasting market through fragmentation and will make it virtually impossible for minority-owned and small stations to achieve a profit. While other advocacy groups support the proposal, Davis and Perry have argued that minority-owned broadcasters, who make up less than 2% of the overall radio ownership, will find great difficulty in competing with larger, majority-owned radio stations who will be able to leverage the geo-broadcasting opportunity to further strengthen their bottom lines. It will also create pressures on the smaller radio companies to be able to compete for their very survival. In addition to the competitiveness argument, there are concerns over potential interference through designated frequency bands, leading to service disruptions and greater disparities among customers of color and poor communities. Geo Broadcast has responded that the technology is not too costly for smaller stations, and that with typical price increases based on market dynamics, smaller stations would still be competitive in the sector with their larger counterparts. Meanwhile, some larger communications groups have withdrawn their support for the policy change, noting concerns about cost and diminished signal quality. The National Association of Broadcasters has also challenged the plan, noting that geo-targeting will increase the competitive advantage of larger stations to the harm and detriment of smaller broadcasters. While geo-targeting presents interesting efficiency and economic opportunities, Reverend Jackson and the Rainbow Push Coalition have serious concerns about the equity harms that could flow from such a policy change. We will continue to monitor this issue and keep you informed about the process. This week, after the execution of a search warrant on former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort, Attorney General Merrick Garland has appealed to the trial court that the warrant that was authorized to search former President Trump's residence be released. This after public outrage was fostered by the former president in response to the arrival of FBI agents at Mar-a-Lago to execute the search. The debate about whether the Attorney General should or can release information concerning the search has intensified the scrutiny of a motion filed by the Attorney General with the District Court. The motion asks that the information in the search warrant application be released due to significant public awareness and interest. The Attorney General has indicated that he personally approved the search warrant before presenting it to the federal judge. Based on the probable cause statement in the warrant application, the FBI was given authority to search the former president's residence. For many, this is an exercise in accountability after the disruptions of January 6, 2021, in response to the 2020 presidential election. And while some on the conservative side have argued that the search warrant application was politically motivated, others have reached a different conclusion, namely, that the testimony before the January 6th committee in the House of Representatives has given new information that warrants follow-up and investigation on the part of the FBI. The concerns about the potential disruption in the upcoming midterm elections is indeed real. That is why Reverend Jackson and the Rainbow Push Coalition are pleading with you that you partner with us as we meet with, engage, and appeal to those persons and institutions who have significant obligations and responsibility in the promotion of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Finally, as the news has been reported widely, Reverend Jackson, myself, and members of the Rainbow Push Coalition team met this week with the CEO of SeaWorld Entertainment, Mark Swanson, and members of the SeaWorld Entertainment board and leadership team. The purpose of the meeting was to focus on being proactive rather than reactive in determining how best to resolve the concerns that have been made prominent in the minds of many through the experience of two little girls in their innocence, trying to engage the fertile soil of their imagination. SeaWorld Entertainment is the parent entity of Sesame Place, the theme park where the horrifying incident with the brown children occurred. The meeting was amicable, the conversation hopeful. Now the work begins to seriously engage in a process of goodwill and with a sense of justice for two little girls in order to resolve not only this issue, but to strengthen SeaWorld Entertainment, Sesame Place, and the affiliated entities from a position of racial justice and racial equity. The Brown family and their attorneys look forward to a timely and expeditious mediation session to remedy these concerns and chart a path forward. Reverend Jackson and the Rainbow Push Coalition stand ready to assist in fruitful dialogue, mediation, and resolution of these very real concerns. The issues of opportunity and possibility continue to be of utmost importance to Reverend Jackson, me, and the Rainbow Push Coalition, and we will continue to support the Brown family, the process, and the possibilities for a resolution that affirms the shared goals of racial justice and human dignity, especially for the Brown children. That is this week's Due Process. I'm Todd Yeary.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday summer camp this summer starting July the 7th. So if you have children between the ages of 5 and 15 years old and you want them to stay involved and to stay mentally connected with the rigor that academically they're going to be faced with this coming academic year, you want them here at the national headquarters of the Rainbow Push Coalition. We're going to be here from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. Thursday, Friday, and on Saturday from 10 to 4. So if you want more information about that, please visit our website at www.therainbowpushcoalition.org, and you can sign your children up from there.
Push Excel's goal is to inspire students to strive for excellence in education in spite of personal, family, and community challenges that they might experience. How do we do this? By advocating for educational policies that guarantee equal funding for all students without regard to race or economic standing. By engaging parents, students, and teachers in pursuing high-quality education and striving for educational excellence at every level. And by forging partnerships with community-based and public sector stakeholders in education. Now, Push Excel is a national model program with the purpose of connecting principals, parents, popular personalities, and students in a bond and to support students at every level on the educational ladder. Now, we want you to become a member of the Rainbow Push Coalition and Push Excel. Your annual membership can help us to change policies that impact students, colleges, and universities all around the country. So step up and sign up today. Membership is only $35, and if you're a student or a senior, $15. Just go to our website, rainbowpush.org, and push join to become a member or push donate to support the Push Excel program. You can also text the word Push Excel, that's PUSHEXCEL, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give us any amount that you feel comfortable giving or call us at 773-256-2775. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you. And remember to keep hope alive.